Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of Dash and Holmesy Break Your Hearts. I'm one of your hosts, Dash, along with my co-host, Holmesy. Hello, Holmesy.
How are y'all doing? Thank you so much for having me back for season 2. I didn't know if I was going to make it.
I know, right? I mean, you're not in the title of the actual podcast at all, so, you know, you're not welcome back to your own podcast at all, Holmesy.
Yeah, no, I'm only memeing, I swear. It's good to be back. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it has.
I'm glad to be back to podding again.
Yeah, dude, it definitely has been a bit. It's been since, I think, July that we podded. I think it was the Wolfenstein Youngblood.
We did, yeah.
Special, yeah.
That flew by. My goodness.
It did. Yeah, I know, geez. And so now we're in the middle of September. As we said at the beginning, near the beginning of the year, back in February, when we first teased Break Your Hearts, that we would be here. It's September time, and Holmesy is playing Catherine currently. So I've completed it. I've completed it multiple times. I've actually completed the original and full body, so I can actually make comparisons to both versions of the game, which is really cool.
That's crazy.
Whereas Chris over here, and I think he's got the disc. He's about to show the disc in his hand.
Yeah, I was grabbing the. People were confused about, like, they saw the disc and they're like, why is it 18 plus in the UK but 15 plus here? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it makes it more accessible for people in Australia, I guess.
Well, it's just a case that the ratings board across everything else is kind of different. That is what the steel case booklet does look like as well, Holmesy, just in case you wanted to see that. Yeah, so that is the steel case booklet. I had to give it to Holmesy through his mailbox because he wasn't home. And I was I'll just quickly slip it into something small. So that's actually the steel case book. But guys, if you didn't know, this is Dash and Holmesy, our tri-weekly book club inspired gaming podcast where Holmesy and I sit down and are dissecting Catherine Full Body. So this is a little bit different. Oh my god, this intro, I've actually forgot to take out Persona 5 out of this, but I did write Catherine Full Body here instead. But guys, yes, we are sitting down and dissecting Holmesy's first playthrough of Catherine Full Body. If you didn't know about Catherine Full Body, it was first released on February 14, 2019 in Japan and September 3rd, 2019 in other regions. Is developed by Atlas and published by 5 Star Games in Australia. So once again, thank you very much to 5 Star Games here in Australia for allowing myself and Holmesy to sit down and play and review this in our book club inspired format. With the success of Persona 5, our Take Your Heart series, 5 Star was kind enough to reach out to both of us and supply a copy of Catherine Full Body. So make sure that you guys, if you haven't, go out today and buy your copy. It is available on the PlayStation Network right now. But if you like what you hear today, make sure that you follow us on dashandholmesy.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify. We can give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. And also over on dashgamer.com where you can watch and listen to this on demand. That was our intro. I got through it. Yeah. I got through the whole freaking thing. You can take a sip of your beer. Why not?
All right, thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you guys next week.
I'm feeling like our intros are so, like, the podcast intros are getting longer and longer each time, but there's so much happening these days, dude. It's incredible.
There's always more.
Yes, definitely. Holmesy, much like we did start off Persona 5 to Take Your Hearts, every time we began the podcast, I would always ask you, where are you up to?
Yeah, so I'm out of habit, out of routine. So I haven't recorded. I know back when we did P5, I was recording like the date and or like the day that I was up to and what had just happened. But yeah, like I said, out of routine, haven't done that. But I can tell you the last thing that I did was we found out that obviously there's spoilers. Large spoilers, big spoiler flag.
So if you're not coming here, this is obviously a spoiler cast every week. Yeah, so
yeah,
I'm sorry if we spoiled Persona 5 for you.
The last thing I found out was that Catherine with a K, Catherine with a K. Yes. I'll explain why I'm stipulating that in a moment. Catherine with a K is pregante or pregnant.
Pregante. So what I was going to ask you first before that, because I had this in order and I accidentally slipped, but. Tell me what you know so far about the tale of Catherine Full Body.
So I don't know like a huge amount aside from like our protagonist. I already don't like as well. I've got
shit.
There's reasons as to why I don't like that guy. And I say that there's stuff that we're gonna find out obviously as time goes by.
Yeah.
But look, he lives in they frequent, what's the name of the place again? Is the
Stray Sheep.
Stray Lamb?
Stray Sheep.
Stray Sheep, that's it. They frequent a bar called the Stray Sheep. He's got his friends that he kind of hangs out with there all the time.
Yeah.
His partner is Catherine with a K.
Yes.
I don't really get like a lot about like who he is in the start. Like you just kind of get like, you get introduced to him, you get introduced to his friends, you get introduced to like what he does for a job, where he lives, and all that sort of stuff, and then that's kind of it. Like then the more just kind of unfolds as time goes by. Like you learn a little bit more about like who people are. Like I know at the very start we're following Rin. Like you see like a cutscene of like Rin running away from some kind of giant being in their city.
Yeah.
And he rescues her from whoever is chasing her at the time. She has amnesia. We don't know who she is, or she doesn't know who she is. We don't know who she was or what she did before. And this is so just disjointed. But then next thing we know, you wake up in the middle of this dream, and it's you like climbing these towers or climbing these pillars to escape from where you are in this dream.
Yeah.
And you know, you keep climbing further and further. There's other people doing the same thing that are sheep, so you don't know who they actually are.
Right.
It's such an unusual story. I've never seen a story like this. Like I trying to like explain it just now is so hard because I don't.
Yeah.
There's just so much going on.
Yeah, so it's way different to what you would have experienced over in Persona 5, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Obviously, with Persona 5, we had more of the story centered a lot around your protagonist, but however, it kind of spread within more along the lines of everybody else's story as well.
Mm-hmm.
With this, it's solely centered around Vincent's story. So tell me why. So what is it that makes you hate Vincent altogether?
Oh, okay. So I mean, we'll talk about more about like Vincent and why.
Yeah,
I don't like him, but like I'll talk about him as a person anyway. Like the main thing at the moment, like the big thing that kind of happens after like a day or two into the game, not like days of playing, but in-game days or whatever.
Yeah.
They're starting like Vincent and Catherine with a K.
Yeah.
Are talking about like marriage and all that kind of stuff. Like she's like, oh, you know, our relationship's been going for like 5 years now. Maybe we should look into like, you know, the next steps. Like what do we do from here kind of thing. And you get like this texting system to like you can choose your responses to see how good or bad a person you are.
That's right. Yeah.
I guess like the reason I don't like him is you end up cheating on your girlfriend in the game. Like a short amount into the game. Like, I mean, I'm saying cheating. I'm gonna for the listeners. If you're on Twitch, you can see us doing this, but I'm doing quotation marks cheating because we don't know actually. To be fair, what actually happens in the first one, because he gets very very drunk and then happens to wake up with a girl next to him, and then subsequently a day or two after the same thing happens, or the next day, sorry, again wakes up, but she's let herself in and he doesn't recall her ever getting in there. So I wonder, like, I don't know whether it's like that he doesn't know what's going on and there's something to do with her influencing these dreams and making him forget stuff, and whether she's to do with the reason that Catherine with a Q, the Rin, has forgotten things as well. But yeah, the reason that I don't like him is the
infidelity part,
the fact that he's been unfaithful. I've got a very strong moral stance on cheating. I don't like people cheating. I hate that shit.
Right. So this is also because we've talked plenty about this in the past, obviously, with me and you being mates and all that kind of stuff. So it's like one of those things where this kind of story I knew was kind of going to test your moral ground as well a little bit. And I knew that, like, I know what kind of person you are. You're a morally correct person. And I know that you're a very good guy. We've discussed this plenty of times, how much of a good guy you are. But it's like, in terms of this story and what it delivers as well is mystique a little bit. There's not necessarily everything that you see in front of you is what it is in a way. And I feel like it kind of delivers in that premise that Atlas always do, you know, especially when we experience Persona 5, everything that was perceived in different cognition. It's all about cognition. It's all about what's perceived in front of you. May it actually be true or not? You don't know. But with Catherine Full Body, it's a case where morally what you were doing obviously is wrong. There is that certain story of infidelity happening and Vincent keeping it away from Catherine with a K. His girlfriend, who is actually, her full name is actually Catherine McBride. So in terms of that, like Vincent's infidelity isn't helping at all what's happening, but I don't think he helps himself when he doesn't say anything or help like the only people that know essentially are his friends that he confides in every night.
Literally all of them though, like one of them finds out, and then like the next thing you know, you're back at the Stray Sheep, and everyone fucking knows. Like, and it's like, just keep it down. Like,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
So tell me how you feel about the characters that he actually talks to as well, like the characters that he confides in as well.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be straight up here. I can't recall all of their names. I remember Vincent's name, of course, and Catherine, or like all the different Catherines that we've spoken to so far. Yeah. But you can definitely. There's one of them whose name again. I blanked on all their names. But the guy in the beanie with the blonde hair has got strong Ryuji vibes.
Yeah.
Strong Ryuji vibes, because he's immediately just like, oh, where's the women? Why don't I get a pretty woman? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh my god, this is Ryuji to a T, but just like copied over to a new game.
Yeah. I'll tell you his name, right? Toby? Yeah, Toby. Cool.
So he is Ryuji in this game, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
There's who's the other guy? There's the guy with like the dark long hair. He's got the Sojiro voice. He's the voice actor for Sojiro.
Oh god, the one with the dark long hair is actually Travis Willingham. That's Laura Bailey's husband. Johnny.
Okay, got you. Sorry, I thought, is that not Sojiro's voice actor?
It's not. So the guy who is actually Sojiro's voice actor is actually the guy who commentates the towers.
Oh, the voice actors, they both their voices in the game sounds very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I thought there was just like, I thought for some reason he was the one commentating the towers, or just like they sound almost identical.
No.
If for that character they're portraying, they sound the same.
Two different actors. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I like him because he's very blunt. He's just very like to the point. And he's just kind of like, very nonchalant about everything, and he's just kind of like silently judgmental in a way at times, and I find him like to be a very like his dry humor is right up my alley, so I like him.
Yeah.
And the lady that works at the diner, like the
Erica.
God damn it, they've put boob physics in this game, and I remember her like walking over to the table for the first time and leaning forward to talk, and I'm looking at her face because I'm playing the game, looking at her face. And then as soon as she leans forward, whoever's developed the game has gone like, let's make her boobs wiggle. And so she leans forward, and I'm like, why is that moving in the game? What is this? Why are you giving boob physics to a game? So,
well, it happens in every like Japanese style game anyway.
Japan. Hashtag Japan.
So the character you're talking about, the waitress, her name is Erica.
Erica, yeah, cool. Look, I need to remember all these names properly. I should have written these down.
No, that's okay, man. You're just getting
the ball
started
on this one. I remember what they're like though.
You're just getting started.
She's really nice. Hey,
you're just getting started. It's all good.
Yeah, no, she's cool. I like her character. She doesn't give you a hard time, but she's kind of like questions what you're doing. Like as soon as you like get caught out for cheating, it's just like, oh, like you don't seem the kind of person to do that. Like what? Are you okay? What's the deal? So she's not as judgmental as the rest of your friends around the table.
Yeah, fair enough. So do you know much about Erica's past and her involvement with the crew at all?
Not that I recall. No, I don't think I've gotten far enough to find out too much more, other than the fact that we go there often enough that she obviously knows us quite well.
Oh, fair enough. That's fine. Yeah. So tell me a little bit now about what you actually know about Catherine, and Rin.
Right. Okay. Well, like Catherine with a K, our partner. Like I know that she is our partner of 5 years in the game. Like I mentioned before, like she's trying to go next steps, try and figure out like where's our relationship going, Vincent? What are we doing? Like is everything good, etc.
Yeah.
There's Catherine with a C, who's I guess like for want of a better idea of who it might be, we'll say is so far the antagonist in the game.
Right.
Who I guess like ends up being the person that Vincent is cheating on with, which is she's clearly a negative impact in the game so far.
Right.
And then there's Rin, which is also spelled Catherine with a Q, like it's Qathhrane. So there's three different Catherines in this game.
Yeah.
She is she's a younger character in the game, kind of like innocent vibe. She doesn't recall much of anything. Like she's just like completely, like she doesn't remember pretty much anything about herself. We crossed paths with her when she was running away from a giant figure in the middle of the city that we don't actually see, and I kind of have like an idea about what it might be, sorta, I guess. But we come across paths with her. She bumps into us, and then we keep her safe or save her, and We're just kind of taking care of her. She's got a job at the Stray Sheep while she gets her memory back, and she's just sort of like I guess an acquaintance amongst everyone. She's not really like a friend because everyone thinks she's a little bit weird, not having any memory of anything. So
No, fair enough.
that's all the Catherines so far. I don't know if there's going to be more. I thought the one was the only one. Then we found out Rin was short for Catherine with a Q, and then the other Catherine turned up, and yeah.
No,
I remember
fair.
saying to you, actually, because I got the game, and I'm like, why is Catherine on the K spelled with a C, but our Catherine spelled with a K?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, we'll find out. And then, sure enough, here we are.
That was the first day we played together. So, like, I did catch up with Holmesy one day, and we did sit down early before the game actually got its release. Before its public release, we actually, because we got the review code from 5-star, we were actually able to sit down and play for a few hours. And yeah, Holmesy did have a few questions where he was like, "Oh, what? So hold on, why is there a Catherine with a K but the game spelled with a C?" And I was like, "I can't tell you why. That's something that you're gonna have to find out for yourself." So I'm glad that you've actually gotten there. You've actually gotten a little further. So here's the thing. So because there are multiple paths within the story, you've actually hit a certain path, but way before I actually did. So the Catherine, so when Rin actually showed you her full name, which was with the Q, it actually happened way later in the story for me. Whereas,
Oh, really?
it's already happened for you, yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So your path is already starting to go completely different.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know whether there's like a much shorter path at all. Like, I mean, I've not sat down and rushed through the game, but like I'm playing it on, I can't remember whether I'm playing on beginner or normal, but I'm playing it on like the classic mode and just kind of cruising through. Like, the puzzles haven't been super challenging per se so far. Like, I don't think I've only been like killed by something or squished by something like once. That it's been pretty cruisy to go through so far though. I don't know whether it's just that I've maybe gotten through things fast.
No.
If it's just a shorter storyline.
You're probably hitting a different storyline that might be shorter. So I can't reveal too much when I say this. I won't. No. There are two paths that are in this. So there are about 2 to 3 paths I think that are in this story that are shorter than the rest of them. Depending on which path you take, you might get an extra 4 to 5 hours of content. So
Okay.
So just letting you know, depending on which path you take, we might, both of us might end up with different outcomes here. So I'll actually ask you, which path are you currently taking? So how is your moral compass looking? Like when the meter comes up onto the screen, obviously it resonates, and this is something that I mentioned to you when we were playing. It resonated a lot of Infamous Second Son with that meter coming up, and the karma compass came up with a red and a blue.
Yeah.
So where does your moral compass currently lie?
It's in like the good side, like it's still in like blue.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was. I think there was something that I answered, and like there's the questions you get asked in the game, like before, like when you're climbing different areas in the towers, like you're doing like the climb, and there's questions there in like the confession booth that you do.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm saying a lot right now in the pod where people are like, "What are you talking about?" But we'll get to that a bit later.
Yeah.
But basically, I'll summarize it by saying like some of the questions that I've been asked in the game so far, are very clearly like, you know, have you ever been like, just, I can't think of the specific questions, but like some of them are very like night and day, like have you always been faithful kind of thing. It's just like yes or no, and obviously if you say yes, you're in good. If you say no, you're in bad.
Correct.
But some of the other questions are very ambiguous, so they're very open to like interpretation of what might be like a good or a bad answer. Again, I can't think of examples because it's been a couple of days since I've played.
Yeah.
But there was one or two questions where I put my answers down and I was just like, yeah, that seems like, you know, I think that would be a fair thing to say as like a good answer compared to the other one. And I did it, and I lost good like, you know, positive karma. I was like, the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. Some of them have been mostly good. I got a couple of ones that I sent where it was like a negative outcome. Same with like some of the text as well. I sent some text responses and I thought like they were good.
Yeah.
And then like I got like negative stuff from them, but
Yeah.
mostly good overall. Like I'm still like the first notch of the blue.
Oh, that's good then, yeah. So, in terms of obviously the story and the way it's heading, do you have an idea of like what the Vincent's goal or anything, like what you are trying to achieve out of this whole storyline, essentially?
I mean, there's not really been like a super like straight ahead kind of thing that was said so far. Like I know obviously he's very uncertain about. I say very uncertain. It very much is like depending on how you decide to steer things with your answers and stuff. But his character gives off a very uncertain vibe about like being in a relationship with Catherine with a K. Like he frequently is kind of like, and you get reminded about this a few times in like dreams or flashbacks or just like little things where people are like, "Are you really happy? Like think back to the good times." And there's like flashbacks to when you're with Catherine with a K, like your partner. I'll say Catherine, your partner.
Yeah.
You have like a flashback to when you're with your partner and you're really happy and having fun and joking around and just being really silly together. And then you flashed it forward to where you are currently and you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And she's like, I think at one point when you're not paying attention, she like stabs the table with a fork.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so our girlfriend's kind of crazy. Like she's like, we're in a restaurant and you're stabbing a table with a fork. So
It's great.
I think clearly your character has this very strong uncertainty about being in a relationship with Catherine.
Yeah.
We're gonna drop some bigger information now, but like I'm at the part where we find out that Catherine with a K says that she is pregnant. There's a very obvious fear in your character's eyes and body language that's just like, oh fuck, okay, I really can't get out now. So there's also that in the fact that at that point in the game we had cheated on her twice or 3 times in the game. Which is not great. So yeah, and then we're also that Catherine with a Q was trying to come in. No, Catherine with a K. Catherine with a C. Goodness me.
Slow down.
The blonde Catherine, the promiscuous one.
Yes.
Has somehow found out that you're at a restaurant nearby and is coming to try and find you. So
I love
you're
that
sweating
scene,
about
man.
that. You're sweating about your girlfriend being pregnant before you've even become like husband and wife or fiance and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah, there's some stressful stuff that goes on in this game. My God.
Yeah. So you obviously do you have any sympathy at all or empathy for Vincent's situation whatsoever?
Look, I feel like I got a pretty open mind at first. Like I said, Dash and I were talking or chatting a little bit before the pod, just talking about what's happened. Yep. And I was like, I don't like the antagonist, the protagonist. I don't like the protagonist because he cheated on his girlfriend, and like I hate that shit.
Yeah.
But I also don't. I'm trying to remember now. I don't think there's ever been anything in the game that has been like so far, and I'm just trying to like keep an open mind because maybe he's not a dick.
Yeah.
But there's nothing so far in the game that I've seen so far that's been like a definitive. He has done the do with her, because the first time you do it, you're drinking at the bar and you don't really, I didn't choose to drink at the bar at the time that it happened, but you stay at the bar, apparently, quote unquote, drink too much, and then you wake up with a girl next to you in your bed. And then another day later, you wake up again, you go to sleep with no one and you're fully aware of what's going on. You have your nightmare and then you wake up and she's in your bed again.
Right.
And there's been nothing that said that you've actually done anything with her. She just wakes up in your bed.
Yeah. So it's only an assumption that anything has happened.
It's very, so I mean, if he actually has later on, they'll be like, nah, that's pretty shit. You're kind of a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
But if he hasn't, then like, because he obviously has forgotten everything that's happened overnight each time, or doesn't recall anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I guess obviously something has some power over him to make him forget everything, and then leave it to thoughts being pushed into his mind instead. So I don't know. At the moment, I don't want to assume anything, but it gives off a strong vibe of he's a bit of a ween.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the character of so when you go to the confessional booth, you have to interact with this character that's inside the confessional booth with you as well. What kind of vibe do you get from this guy?
Still, pretty sinister vibe. Like he's talking about, or he, she, they, it is talking about someone else bringing you there, and they're just like, kind of, they're the one just like making the cogs turn. Like someone else is like, the master of all the stuff that's happening.
Right.
And they, no matter what answer every answer that I picked so far in this, sorry, for listeners and listeners and viewers on Twitch right now, the confessional booth we're talking about is something that you get to at the end of an area that you've climbed through.
Correct. The landing,
the landing that you get to, you walk into, to go up to the next level, you walk into a confessional booth, you answer a question, and then it takes you up and out of the nightmare.
Correct. But
I don't quite know. Every single answer that I've given that I would, and all the answers I've given, the vast majority have been like, other people have said the same answer. I really like that as a touch too. Same as like Persona, where you give your answers and you can see online, like your network, who has answered similar and who has answered different.
Yeah, that's right.
But every answer I've given so far has been, majority have answered the same thing. And each answer I give, I get judgment from the little booth boy. So
yeah, exactly. It's great because it actually tells you in terms of like, because it comes up with a pie chart at the end, and it gives you essentially the answer to a percentile of what people actually answer, and some of them are morally correct and some aren't. Essentially, they're there to kind of, it is a judgment booth is what it is. It is a confessional. It tells people, hey, there's like this much of a percentile of the people playing the game that are kind of scummy, but there are this much percent of people playing this game that are actually morally good people. So
I sort of want to do just like Infamous Second Son, like I did this on that game. I sort of want to do an asshole run of this game too.
An evil run.
I'm doing the answers so far where it's like, okay, this is what I think. These are the things that I would do as a person.
Yeah.
But I sort of want to go through it and just like choose all the stuff where it's like, these are clearly the answers to be a prick, and I'm going to pick all of these and just see what the story is when you're an asshole the entire game.
An evil run, that'd be awesome to do, actually.
Evil run would be a good time to do, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. You're actually correct. You're on the right path in terms of the character. He is not the master. He is essentially a cog in the story that keeps the wheel turning, and plays Vincent as well in this as well. So you're very hot on the trail right now within the story. So essentially exactly the same with how you were with Persona 5. Speaking of Persona 5, so the story itself, so Catherine, the original release that was on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, initially on the Xbox 360 actually, was the engine, the developmental engine used for the game Persona 5.
Mm-hmm.
So in playing this game, they actually now have lifted Persona 5's perfected engine and placed it and remastered it with Catherine Full Body. This is, in turn, once again, is now the placement engine, the developmental engine for Persona 5 The Royal.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so what they have done is developed Catherine, the original, taken the engine, developed Persona 5, and then taken Persona 5's engine to go into Catherine Full Body, and then Catherine Full Body's engine is fine-tuning itself for Persona 5 The Royal.
Goddamn, okay.
Yeah, so just a little bit of trivia for you.
Small additional piece of info there. I don't know whether you've discovered this at all, but if you play with the jukebox inside the Stray Sheep, there is a Persona 5 soundtrack on the jukebox, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very awesome.
So every time I go to the Stray Sheep, I'm just immediately just like, Persona 5 music!
Yeah.
Go, 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 go!
Put in the bar music, please.
Every single time.
Yeah, it's awesome. So the trivia things as well. Like, how cool is it that it actually gives you trivia for cocktails and beer and all that kind of stuff after every drink that you have? Have you actually experienced that?
No, because I didn't want to. I saw that and it was just like, my brain immediately was like, nope, not doing that, because it says like you can sit at the table and drink, but each time you drink, obviously, depending on how many beers you have, a maximum of 3 affects how quickly you can get through the puzzles in the maze later on, like in the climb.
Oh no, so you're doing it the wrong way around.
Really?
Yeah, so the more you drink, the faster you climb.
Oh, what?
So, there you go. There's a little bit of a tip for you.
I would have assumed if you're drinking beers that like the more drunk you are, the harder it'll be for you to climb because you're drunk.
No, so drink more.
Oh, I'm so glad we had this pod today.
Yes, drink more. So the more you drink, the faster you climb in your drink. And also when you finish your drinks, you get a nifty trivia about the drink you have just drunk. So it might be sake, might be beer, might be a cocktail of rum and coke, and it might just be I think the other one was just liquor or something. I can't remember what it was. But you get yourself a choice there, and it also gives you some nifty trivia about, and it's actually quite informal. Like, it's very
oh man,
you get a lot of tips from these things, man. Did you like they tell you a lot, like there was even like a tip about how they actually had like some of the hops in beer, and how rum and cola, and why it was named rum and cola, and why it's actually wasn't originally rum and cola. It's like really cool tips that actually tell you. But yeah, drink at the bar. That's the point. Drink
I did not realize that. Like, it said that, and it didn't tell you which way was which. It just said that like drinking will affect how quickly you can climb, and it's like, faster or slower? I assume more you drink, slower you go. So I'm just like, I just want to be able to get through the maze quickly, so I didn't drink.
Yeah, so now you know. So the more you drink, the faster you'll get through the maze.
I will neck every drink now. Hell yeah.
Have you interacted with a lot of the patrons at the bar?
Yeah, there's I can't remember the barkeeper's name, but they call him Boss.
Yep, Boss, yep.
So I've spoken to him a bit. He's kind of got like a, I don't know, he keeps his cards very close to his chest. There's a couple of conversations we've had where he shared a little bit about himself.
Yep.
But I don't really know too much about him because we haven't had many opportunities to talk to him. I think there's like a police officer there that we talk to as well who's sat at the bar talking about his cases. But again, like you don't really get too much like so far, at least, because this early game, nothing has kind of been said that kind of has any weight to it. It's just kind of been like, oh, another day, like another day on this case, and no further info kind of thing. You don't really get too much out of it. There's a couple sitting next to us, and there's a couple at the bar that I spoke to, and one of the guys I went to high school with, the character went to high school with in the game, and he's like, you don't recognize me? Oh man, I can't believe you don't recognize me. I remember you. Why don't you remember me? And it's like, it's a really awkward exchange. That's kind of it. It's kind of all this. Oh, and there's a couple, like a couple of twins, like these older ladies that are sat down on the table behind you at one of the days that I spoke to, and like they frequently just like finishing each other's sentences or like talking with each other to you.
Yeah,
it's a really unusual exchange, but yeah, I feel like the more that we talk to them, the more they're gonna like people are gonna reveal about this whole like because people obviously die in this dream thing, like this nightmare that we have. I feel like the more this stuff circulates the news and the more that we talk to these people at the bar, the more they're going to reveal about the shit that is going on and why people are fucking dying in their sleep.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see how that all goes and like what we learn as we talk to more people.
Do you remember Sojiro's nickname?
Boss.
So, yeah, both run essentially kind of the same hospitality, a bar, a cafe, run it. They're called Boss. So
he's not Sojiro though.
No,
Imagine that. No. Psych.
Yeah,
crossover. He's now got glasses and grey hair.
So yeah, you said before that you may have a suspicion on who might be chasing Rin at the start. Who did you think that was?
Oh, not so much who was chasing her, but just like what it is.
Okay, what may it be?
So obviously, like there's a common theme between our character and Vincent.
Yep.
Also, Vincent and Rin. Sorry.
Yep.
Obviously Rin has lost her memory entirely.
Yep.
Rin doesn't remember shit.
No.
Aside from the fact that she likes piano, and she's also appeared in our nightmares to play piano and keep off the things that are chasing us, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
But she's forgotten everything entirely, whereas our character forgets things overnight when they're in the nightmares.
Yeah.
I wonder whether she has somehow like escaped this nightmare and she's been in it herself. And like whether she physically has somehow been in one of these nightmares and like escaped the nightmare and then this giant thing, because one of the puzzles that we do, someone who I think is Catherine with a K,
yep.
Is chasing after us with a fork. And then sure enough, the next day after that nightmare with someone stabbing at us with a fork,
yep.
Our girlfriend stabs the table with a fork.
Right.
But I feel like this giant being is either like a vision
yep.
from one of them that's like chasing them, like this giant being, because that's the only other place we're seeing giant people.
Yep.
Or somehow similar to Mementos in Persona 5, how the worlds cross over, like Mementos crosses over with real world, that this nightmare world has crossed over with our world, and one of the big things has come out and is chasing her.
Yep.
I wonder whether Rin, when she remembered things, has accidentally cheated on somebody, because that seems to be the premise that causes these nightmares, that if you've been unfaithful, you have nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously you're following that premise as well, that the unfaithfulness of a lot of these men who are seen as sheep, and we're going to get into that in a second now. Like, obviously when you jump into these nightmares, the other characters that you see are perceived as sheep. And there's a common theme throughout the whole story. Obviously, you go to a bar called the Stray Sheep. A lot of these characters that you are seeing are sheep, and a lot of these characters resonate with some of the patrons and some of the characters that you interact with at the bar. Within that as well, how much have you actually before I actually jump right into that, how much have you interacted with Rin at the bar?
A little bit every now and then, not heaps. Like I've spoken to her once and she didn't really have too much to say. I can't remember specifically what it was, but I do remember when she, I think the last time I properly interacted with her was when she played piano one night, and it came out really badly.
Oh, right.
She's like really, really bad player. And then, everyone was like encouraging me, like, oh yeah, good on you for trying, kind of thing. And you go up to her and speak to her, and she's like, thank you so much for taking care of me. Like, I'm motivated to play more. And like, all I remember is that I wanted to play piano. And then when you're in the nightmares, she can play piano like
no problem,
really fucking well.
Yeah.
That's sort of like the only interaction I've really had with her, is just like talking to her like every now and then, but she doesn't really say too much.
Right. No, fair enough. I'll ask you as well. So now we'll jump into the puzzle part. How are you feeling about the puzzle aspect of the game, and how it kind of ties into what's happening in real life as well?
Yeah, so I mean, the puzzles itself, I find like I've specifically written down here too. I actually really enjoy the puzzles. Like they're hard enough to be, occasionally sort of like challenging, but no, they're not so hard that I'm sitting there and going like, oh man, this sucks. Like I hate this. Like it's hard enough to be fun.
Yeah.
For the best way to say it. It's like it actually reminds me of this very much reminds me of like it's just mementos, but we're trying to get out instead of go deeper.
That's what a lot of people say as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the exact same theme as like there's our real world, there's another world with like which is obviously your cognition again, like your nightmare.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have this world, and instead of trying to go further down and explore more and find like the bottom,
Yeah.
instead we're trying to get as far out of this place as possible.
Yeah.
I think somewhere in the game it mentions that there's like 8 different levels or landings that we need to reach. And I think so far we're up to like the 2nd or 3rd landing.
Yeah.
I think maybe the 3rd landing actually. Yeah, but like we're making our way through, but it's satisfying to play, and I like the little the encouragement to talk to people. I'm gonna we can branch off into something in a moment too, but I like the fact that you can talk to different sheep as you go further up, and there's different people that you kind of meet as you go by, like ones that share techniques with you, so you learn different ways to like tackle puzzles.
Yep.
Other people freaking out, which obviously affects your good or bad moral compass or being a person kind of thing. If someone's like freaking out about something else that was cool, but if someone's freaking out and you go up to them and just like, calm down, you're an idiot, like shut up, stop being so over dramatic, it's like you get a negative
choice. Yeah,
it's like you're being a jerk to somebody, so like they remember that.
Yeah.
Something I thought was cool is as I was climbing one of the puzzles, there was a sheep, and it's very much if you don't either get out of the way of the sheep, or if you don't push the sheep first, other people will push you off the platforms.
Right.
So, and I was just like, fuck this. And I just moved the block and pushed them straight off.
Yeah.
And then as I climbed further up the tower, I saw that sheep and they were just like, hey, what the hell? You pushed me off the thing. And I was just like, oh my God, you actually see them later. I was like, okay, so clearly like the people that you push will, they'll remember that shit. So
That's right,
now I'm just going to do my best to avoid pushing sheep. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So you are going to... morally, obviously, that will affect your moral compass as well. So do you feel like in doing those kind of acts now, you kind of want to avoid doing that for the future? Or is it something that survival of the fittest and I need to get up there as fast as I can?
Well, I mean, obviously you want to finish it as fast as possible to get like a good score, but... I don't want to kill anybody. I want to play it well, and I want to make sure that I just want to knock off as little sheep as possible so that I can just get to the top and not have bad relationships with anybody.
No, fair enough. That's fine. So do you feel like, what do you feel, so as of speaking of this first episode of our series, how do you feel about like an end goal to the whole game so far? Because I want to speak about this because obviously there will be an end goal to this, and we'll probably reach it a lot quicker than what we did Persona 5. What do you feel right now is Vincent's end goal out of all of this?
I mean, well, right now it doesn't really have much of an end goal. Like there's not really. I feel like that our character isn't as invested in these nightmare things as they could be. Like I don't think it's quite hit them that it's just like, holy fucking shit, there's a link between people dying and there's a link between these nightmares being real and all this kind of stuff. I feel like I'm at the stage where that's going to kind of like tick over, but our goal right now, it just kind of seems to be like, hey, I've cheated on my girlfriend in game. What do I do to go past that? Like, what do I do to fix this?
Yeah.
And like, what do I do about my girlfriend being pregnant?
Yeah.
But the thing that I think is the thing I thought was pretty cool, and I think the reason I say things are about to like tick over and something's gonna go like, oh shit, this is real, is our friend that we met at the bar, the one that we didn't recognize, we spoke to them, and then the guy that we spoke to was just like, I could have sworn I've heard your voice like recently, or I spoke to you the other night or something like that.
Yeah. And
clearly it's a mental link. Like this place that we go is not just a nightmare. There is a cognitive world that everyone that has been unfaithful goes to, and they have to climb their way out of this place too. So like we've spoken to each other, but because each other sees another person as a sheep, there's no way for us to tell that we've actually been there before. So I think eventually someone's gonna go like, oh shit, here we go, and we're gonna like, people are gonna recognize each other's voices in the cognitive world and be like, yo, we fucked up, let's get out of here together, or something along those lines. So I think that there'll be a point where that snaps for everybody and they'll just realize what they need to do. Yeah.
Isn't it funny, coming out of a game like Persona 5 and then coming over to Catherine Full Body, both by the same developer, a lot of the themes that are in Catherine are present also in Persona 5. A lot of the cognitive stuff, supernatural being. We've also got just different things in cognition that are playing right now with Vincent and his moral compass. Whereas like with Persona 5, essentially that is what one of the mainline topics are: cognition, moral compass, an outer world experience. Playing kind of like with false gods in a way as well. So, playing the base game right now, like when I first played the base game of Catherine, and then way back in like 2011, I think it was, and then playing something like Persona 5, I really didn't pick up a lot on some of the themes that were actually very similar between the two games. But playing Persona 5 and then going back into it with full body, almost everything that I've been picking apart piece by piece has kind of resonated a lot with Persona 5 as well. Like one thing, did you know that Catherine McBride was actually the base model for Sai Nijima?
No way.
Yeah. So that's why they look very similar.
Okay. That's cool.
That she was designed to be Sai Nijima. Her character, her look and everything, she was initially supposed to be Sai Nijima before they actually planned to put her in Catherine.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you look at the design, very, very similar. And also the character, like the Catherine's attitude and everything, actually does carry over to Sai Nijima's personality as well. So very much a lot of her personality traits are seen. Those personality traits are seen in both characters. There is a caring side of Catherine. There is a really rough side of Catherine. I'm talking about Catherine McBride, Catherine with a K. Yeah. Both of them have almost to the T similar personality traits. They both have they have long hair, same hair color, long slender bodies. They wear black, completely black, and they wear like the flare pants as well. These are like little things that I picked up on, and then I Googled, and I was like, oh my God, I picked up on this, and it actually is that case.
It is a thing. Yeah. That's crazy.
So it was really cool to actually see that in motion as well and pick up on those kind of things. Has there been a lot of Persona 5 that you've picked up from this game at all? Like, has there been any aspects of Persona 5 that you have picked up from Catherine so far?
I mean, aside from what we've already kind of gone through now, obviously like the group that we have, like, actually now think about it, there's about the same party or like number of people that we have in Persona 5 as well. Like obviously there's different people, different personalities, different like types of personas that they want to portray kind of thing. So I get that obviously. There wasn't anything that was like moral compassy in Persona 5 that I recall, but there was like the quizzes where we had to check people's answers and stuff like that. So
right, yeah.
That kind of thing, the mementos thing or like the cognitive world sort of thing, obviously that's very, very similar too.
Yeah.
They're like the biggest things, I guess, so far. Like they're the real standout things where it's like, oh shit, this is like very inspired by Persona. But obviously there's the original Catherine game anyway, so I'm sure the themes there are very similar too.
So how do you think it differentiates from coming from a game like Persona to something like a puzzle game that's essentially more of a moral compass? Like it's very standstill. It's not, you don't run around in a lot of large areas. It's a puzzle game in much of it. But you're also controlling your path as well. As I said, 7 different paths to go through as well. How do you think it differentiates from playing such a game like Persona 5 to actually coming to something that was essentially its developmental engine?
It feels a lot smaller, feels a lot shorter, but still like it's rich in story and things are going on all the time, which I think is good. It's a lot faster paced in a way. And like it kind of throws you in and like there's no Kamoshida Palace to this game.
It's only
there's nothing
one
that I've jumped into where I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? But yeah, I don't know. It feels the game feels far more linear. It's like the Crash Bandicoot of like platformers. Like you go through this and it's not a platform. Sorry, it was like the Crash Bandicoot of like story based. This sort of game. So
okay, yeah.
You get funneled down like not so much like a straight line, but like you take a path and like you are on that path and like whatever your decisions are, you've got a general kind of theme.
Yeah.
It just feels like that in terms of like where you can actually walk and where you move, like you're either in the stray sheep, you're either in a cutscene, or you're in your brain world thing, like your nightmare. So there's so far at least. I'm sure later in the game there'll be more that we see.
Yep.
But a lot of it has been cutscenes to different environments or different places and different destinations. Yep. Or we're in the stray sheep, or like we go to see Rin for her, like we go to check up on her in her room for one point. We haven't even walked around in our bedroom yet, I don't think.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
At least from what I recall, unless we did it at the very start or anything, but it's mostly been like
The stray sheep.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. So much like I did ask you in the first one, are you enjoying your experience so far with Catherine Fullbody?
Yeah, no, I really, really am. It's been fun and engaging, and it's not like it's very, very rarely, if at all, actually. Now that I think back, there's never been a point in the game where I've just kind of like zoned out or spaced out. Like
awesome.
that did happen in Persona at the start, obviously,
Yeah.
for like a certain point, but this one's kind of got me like, you know, what's what? Like things happen so quickly that I feel like my mind is constantly being engaged by story and things changing and new clues and things being dropped, and it's like I want to try and understand what's going on and who's who and what's what.
Awesome. Because obviously with Kamoshida's Castle, and we talked about that in the very first episode of Take Your Hearts, you kind of fell off the wayside of it. You were like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to continue this story. I feel like everything's just dragging. This first palace is killing me right now. And I've kind of had a feeling that this wasn't going to be the case with Catherine, because there's nothing that drags in this story. It's very fast paced, and essentially it's a way more condensed and shorter story. We're talking only from, depending on your path, 8 to 14 hours long. It's much more condensed, so you're not going to get that. It's very rich in story, so you're not going to get anything that's going to make you bored from playing. You want to know what happens to Vincent. You want to know what happens to a lot of these characters. So it's going to be very interesting to see your path and how it plays out, because obviously it's honestly played out a lot differently to mine so far. So you've already told me that you're kind of interacting a little more than what I did so far with with Rin already, with her revealing her name to you, which is something that happened to me way later into the game for me. My interactions with her, so my path is a lot different to you. So I took my first few hours of the game, I actually was on Catherine with the C's path. Because I was staying at the bar late at night, drinking constantly, sticking around, talking with Boss and Erica, until like Erica passed out on the bar, and then like Catherine with the C would come into the bar and talk to me late at night. So my path was straight up Catherine and her infidelity. So Catherine McBride was always messaging me on my phone and saying, "Where are you?" and "What's going on?"
Yeah.
Whereas I would also interact with Rin in the bar, but I wasn't interacting with her enough to actually get her to open up to me the way that she already has with you.
Right. Okay.
So it sounds like you're kind of on a moral path with Catherine, your girlfriend, and also Rin at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
interesting. Yeah.
Whereas my path was Catherine with the C and Rin.
Yeah.
But it was more Catherine with the C, if anything. But that was not supposed to be like... I was trying to play the game differently to how I did with its original release back in 2011, because I'd already done both paths, Catherine McBride and Catherine, differently. Like I've done those paths, and I was like, maybe those paths would actually be the same if I followed those. And maybe if I went towards Rin's path, it'd actually take me through a brand new path.
I will say... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Keep
No.
going and I'll finish.
Okay. So, like, I thought that was going to be the case, but
yeah,
it's not, apparently. Apparently, like, as I said, 7 different paths now, because there were only 2 paths in the original. Now that there's 7, it's completely different all round. So, yeah, go on. Please tell me what you're going to say.
No, so I was sorry. I thought you were finished before. No,
sorry.
At the moment, are you saying that you're taking like the path of like Catherine with a C and Rin, like you're obviously favoring them more as characters? I feel like mine's going to change over time, because in the very beginning I was just like, oh yeah, Catherine with a K seems cool, like she seems like a nice caring girlfriend and like all that kind of stuff. 5 years, it's fair enough that she's like asking these kind of things, like it's normal to be concerned. And then when she stabbed the table and went like crazy in the restaurant, I was just like, okay, our girlfriend's nuts. So like that happened, and I was just like, okay, yeah, look, I can understand why our characters like got uncertain vibes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's I feel like it's going to eventually change to Catherine with a C and Rin, for myself at least, like favoring their characters as well, and kind of being like, move away from this because it's doesn't seem like a healthy relationship to be in if our character has like doubts before we've kind of gotten into the game.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I love that scene, essentially when she actually reveals that she's pregnant and Vincent just blanks and then she's just like, are you listening? And she just stabs the table with a fork. Fantastic scene, man. I love it.
It is, yeah, it's pretty nuts. And she doesn't look super happy while he's like spaced out about everything, so.
That's great. All right. I think we've covered enough ground for our first episode, Holmesy, because it sounds like we've got a little bit to go, which is going to be awesome. So it's going to be exciting to talk to you in 3 weeks about the rest of some more of your tale of Catherine. Guys.
If it's as short as it is so far, we might even be finished by then. Who knows?
Oh my God. We'll see what happens, I guess. But guys, thank you for listening. If you like what you heard today, make sure that you follow myself and Holmesy on Twitter at Holmesin5, myself at Dash Gamers. But you've been listening to Dash and Holmesy, our tri-weekly book club inspired gaming podcast. Follow the show over on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. You can give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. But also over on dashgamer.com, where you can watch this on demand and listen to it over on all your favorite podcasting services. Make sure that you also catch myself and Buddy Watson over on Dash Culture every 2 weeks, where we go through the latest in geeky pop culture. But guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys in 3 weeks.
Bye-bye.
dashgamer.com